Okay, well, good morning, and welcome to our social hub for this month. I'm John Casper, the Oshkosh Chamber. With us today, we have Chris Burns with Be Connected. Chris is a familiar face with us. For those of you who are social hub regulars, he's done a number of these programs for us. Today, with the new year, Chris will be talking about social trends, social media trends in the upcoming year in 2021. We are recording this session, so we can go back. If you want to view it again, share it with others. It'll be on our website under archive videos, and we'll be pumping that out to others. If those of you are joining us this morning, if you have questions, just use the Q&A tab on the bottom of the screen and ask your questions. And I think at the end of the presentation, we'll see what questions we have, and we'll ask those of Chris. So without further delay, let me throw it over to Chris Burns with Be Connected.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, John. Thank you for having me today. Appreciate it. It gave me a great opportunity to go outside the box a little bit. I've been talking with a lot of businesses lately just about COVID-19 trends and digital marketing. And it's nice to be able to talk about some things that are changing, because there's certainly a lot in the social media landscape that is changing. But before I roll into anything, just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Sounds like my audio is good. So today we're going to talk about trends and predictions. We're going to talk about some of the trends that happened in 2020 on social media platforms, and then some of the predictions and how those things are going to impact small to local businesses and medium-sized businesses here in the future. Before I jump into that, I'm going to start to share my screen. My style of presentation is really laid back and casual. So if at any time anybody wants to jump in, feel free to either, you could certainly put it in the comment section. I'm not as likely to see that. So I would prefer if you just blurt it out and jump into the conversation. There's going to be a lot of room at the end for Q&A as well. So if it's not something you want to cut me off on, that's fine too. Before we get into some of those things, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Be Connected. And we are a social media agency based out of Appleton. We have our headquarters here. We've got about 17 of our 21 employees. And then we've got a handful in our satellite office in Milwaukee. And basically, we're the vehicle that drives our client's voice. So it is our goal when we work with someone, whether it be on the content production side, so photo, video, or on a social media management side, that we are helping broadcast their message, not what we think the message should be, to their clients or to their potential clients to help them achieve more business. There's a lot that goes into that. I like to just kind of show this to people. This is something we talk about internally a lot. This is our social media recipe at a 50,000 foot view. And this will bleed into a little bit of what we talk about today. So I thought it was pretty relevant. But ultimately, when it comes to social media management, whether you are doing it, whether you're the social media manager or the marketing director, or you're the small business owner who's doing this stuff every day, there's really 3 to 4 main components that keep the wheels churning and help to develop and create success. And one of them is content creation. So if you think about it this way, whatever platform we're talking about, it could be LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, what gets you to stop scrolling? And that's a hypothetical question, but ultimately we know that there's more inventory on these platforms than we have time to consume. So why do we stop? Because if you're like me and you're 40 and under, or if you're 30 and under, 20 and under, the younger the age demo, the faster these people scroll through their newsfeed. And it seems like it's 100 miles an hour. And what gets you to stop is high quality content, things that are bright, they're vivid, things that have sound like video. Sometimes for people who enjoy reading, it's those long storytelling type posts where someone's going into a story about, 3 or 4 paragraphs, how their business is celebrating their 25th anniversary, and they're very proud of that. So content that's thoughtful, that has purpose. The second is community building. And if you think about it this way, you might have a page of 500 followers. We'd obviously want to grow that into more, but how do you turn those 500 followers into advocates? People who want to support your business. So they actively like, comment, share. they wave the flag of your business. And when you have that community, people who are engaging, people who are asking questions, there's back and forth, they're clicking on your website, they're filling out lead generation forms, things are happening, that means there is a tie to ROI. So you create content that stops the scroll, you start to build your community, get engagement, people are driving to your website. Now you should have some kind of return on investment at a certain point. And so there's a lot more that goes into that. There's a lot of things you can do, but without going into too much detail, that's what we look at as being a social media recipe for success. As we talk more about our business, we're very proud. We rolled out a couple of new business segments. So in the past, we only really focused on social media management. We've got 3 separate divisions of our company. And again, I'm not going to go into great detail, but we have an emphasis for lead generation. So someone's looking to create online ad campaigns specifically for a platform or several platforms that want to generate new business and new leads. We have our bread and butter, which is our social media management services. And then we have our content production for maybe those organizations who just need a video or just need headshots of their organization, whatever it might be. We now have services to accommodate businesses of all sizes and shapes. Okay, let's get into the fun stuff because no one wants to hear about a business pitch. The 2020 COVID trends. Now, there's a lot of them, and I would love to hear from any of you who have seen some COVID trends firsthand that are not on these first couple of slides. So if there's anything I missed, I'd love for you to jump in. And keep in mind that these are 2020 COVID trends. So one of the things that I saw firsthand was that with social distancing in place, messaging apps saw a huge increase from the previous month. So we're talking about comparing March, April to February. Upwards of 50%. I know that in the beginning months that number was pushing 50% plus. Facebook said that they reported total messaging increase more than 50% in March, which again, not surprising. When people were, we'll use air quotes and say locked up, they were home. People were working, yes, but they had a little bit more spare time on their hands because most of us were not going out grocery shopping. We were not going out, we weren't dropping our kids off at school. We were home. TikTok, which is something we'll talk a little bit more later, saw a 96% increase in year-over-year app downloads as compared to February of that time. Now, that's something that since then has increased over 100%, and it is a force to be reckoned with. But I don't want to give away too much too soon. 45% of global consumers were spending more time on messaging apps. Now we're talking more about as a globe, and we're talking about more about messaging and not just on the social side. This could be things like House Party, FaceTime, iMessage, whatever. You may have noticed this as well, but influencer marketing has hit an all-time high. For those of you who are not familiar, an influencer on social media would be someone who has maybe anywhere from as little as 5,000 to 10,000 followers, upwards to several million. And they use their community, their number of followers, usually to do product endorsements. So companies will send them products and they'll talk about them, hoping that they can influence their community to go out and support that brand or buy those products. And now more than ever, brands are putting the social back in social media. And a great example of that is you're starting to see a lot of small to medium-sized businesses who you might not be open or weren't open as much, like restaurants, for example, coffee shops. And how else do you connect with your customers? Tell them what's new, what's going on, let them know that you're open or you have these COVID protocols, is you shoot a video and you get in front of your camera and talk about what's happening or maybe how you've been impacted by the pandemic. And so they're getting social instead of being passive and talking at their customers, which is what way too many small businesses have been doing for a long time. Here are some things you might want to write down or take a screenshot of. Best times to post with the COVID trend, and I would say that most of this is still very true, would be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now think about it, there are probably at least 50% or more of the workforce is working from home right now. So, or they're working from home 50% of the time because not all businesses are allowing their people in full time. So naturally, people get to work or they start working at 8, 9, 10, and they take a little mid-morning break. or they're on their phone over the lunch hour when they're folding laundry or multitasking, like a lot of us parents are doing. So not surprising to me. We're also seeing that some of the better days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday, no question, as I look at my personal behavior, mid-morning, maybe you're thinking about what you want to do for dinner, or maybe you're thinking about grocery shopping for the weekend. It's just natural times that we as humans kind of pick up our phone while we're at home. We also saw engagements soar, saw 7.3 more engagements per post per day. And again, people are spending a ton more time on social. They should be engaging with more things, especially with things that have a positive or celebratory narrative to them. We all need good things right now to make us feel good with all of the social unrest that's happened, and things with politics and the coronavirus. And so naturally, if we can put and kind of stimulate good news, you're going to get engagement. Social commerce is something we're going to talk a lot about in the upcoming slides. And basically, it's the integration of being able to buy and shop on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and all the others as well. Piggybacking off that, 1 in 2 people are doing more online shopping. I would venture to say that 75% more people are doing more online shopping. As I look at our family and a lot of our friends, I can't tell you the number of times we go into a store versus the number of time we buy things online. It's probably an 80-20 ratio, and I don't see that reverting anytime soon. I mean, yes, we do like to go to stores. It gives us something to do. It's a form of retail therapy. It's a form of entertainment, but ultimately the ease of shopping from home is here to stay. That is for sure. 56% of marketers were using social data to better understand their audience. And again, if you're not able to see your customers, maybe you had a little more spare time on your hands in 2020, like a lot of us did, you're going to dive into the data, which are all things that we as marketers who wear a lot of hats just haven't had the time to do. And so those things on our list that it's like, oh, I would love to dive more into analytics. I'd love to understand more about where my customers are coming from and where they're going on my website. Well, ultimately, that was some things we always wish we could do, but now marketers have had more time to do it. They're implementing that into their social media strategy. And again, another thing we're going to talk about in the upcoming slides is businesses, large and small, are joining the TikTok revolution, and one that I'm pretty excited to talk about here. So along with all those things, we talked about trends. Now, businesses are going to start to raise their hand. They're going to say, well, Chris, what should I do? Well, what should I not do? Well, let's talk about what you can do and what not to do. Now, we're not going to go and talk too much about the things that happen politically or the social unrest. Maybe we'll talk more about COVID. Those things I like to think we're moving past. But ultimately, in a time of uncertainty, in a time of challenges, you may not be challenged, but you can rest assured that at least 50% of the population of this country and the world have been impacted negatively some way, shape, or form. Probably more if you think about it. And so we have to be very cautious and cognizant of other people. And it's easy for those who have not been impacted to post something without being informed and know that if it is political, yes, even now, 50% of the people are going to be offended. So you have to be very careful. You can't be pessimistic or make things political, whether you're a community or a chamber of commerce or a small business or anything in between. I always encourage businesses to stay out of the political side of things, because if you are going to support a movement and you're just going to post about it one time, you're going to look fake. So you have to make sure that it supports your core values. And if someone questions you about it, you can say, yeah, we support XYZ cause because of A, B, and C. And also, as we switch gears, don't think that just because it's a challenging time or there are challenging things on the horizon that you should stop posting. Most of us our businesses have a lot of content opportunities. There's a lot of things to post about. We're going to give you some ideas here along the way. So don't let there be any big gaps, because that's how the red flag gets raised and people start questioning, well, are they still open? Are they closed? Do they go out of business? So you certainly don't want that to happen. Also, there are a lot of small businesses that were negatively impacted that are looking for business. They'll do anything for a buck. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that because they need to survive. And so I've seen a few small businesses get on social to hard sell, to promotion. And I think there's a way around that, in that if you're a small business and you're struggling, turn on your camera and tell a story about how you've been negatively impacted and how your business is working hard to keep the payroll, to keep your customers happy, but you're challenged. And I think what you'll find is that more than ever, there will be a rush of people who will come to the rescue, who want to help you. And so hard selling is just something that has never worked on social. It won't work in the future. Promotions are not a good way to fix a lack of sales. But ultimately, it comes back to being social, to being human, to interacting with people, to focus on quality content and storytelling to get to where you want to be. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but think about what you can do. Take a deep breath if you feel stressed out, or if you feel just uncertain about what to talk about, what to do. Be optimistic. I see that there's a lot of great things happening with the Chamber of Commerce in the city of Oshkosh, with the CVB. I mean, all you have to do is follow either, and you're gonna really have some great inspiration about small businesses that are succeeding. Also, focus on helping others selflessly. I've seen nail salons and hair salons posting videos about how people can take care of their nails or their hair if they're not comfortable coming into a salon, or when the salons were closed, they were giving them advice on how to do that. The same with massage therapists or physical therapists, were creating videos and posting things on how you can stretch and stay active at home during a time when people are probably not moving as much. This is also a great time to create a plan. And we're going to talk more about this toward the end, but ultimately you need a strategy and you need a good plan. I'm going to show you some great ideas and potentially some platforms you might want to jump on, but ultimately you need that guiding light to be able to help you get there. And yes, you should try something new. A lot of small businesses are probably feel a little stale in that they're doing the same thing over and over and it's not working. That definitely means it's time to get fresh with it. Also, great time to retool your email marketing. Look at your analytics, connect with your clients, and do things like we did here in the screenshot on the right. We did a couple of roundtables with our clients where we just asked them questions about their industry. Hey, what's happening? What do you see happening and changing in the future? How can we better serve you? And so for us, we weren't going to be seeing them anytime soon, but we wanted to get their feedback and their opinions. And Zoom calls are here to stay. As much as some of us are fatigued and maybe don't like it, there are some great bonuses and benefits of using it. And I encourage all you businesses out there who have clients to implement that and to connect with your clients. And then you'll also be able to offer virtual trainings and workshops, which is something we've done as well, and no different than what we're doing right now. And so there's a lot of platforms out there that can help you in ways that you might not have thought you could. Okay, so as we talk about this, I'm going to encourage some of the people on the call to try some new things, particularly with maybe adapting to a new platform. And the question I have for a lot of small businesses that I talk to, and this is something that I started doing recently, was I'd ask, what year is it? And they'd say, well, Chris, it's 2021, of course. And I would ask them, what year is it with your marketing? And they'll say, well, it's 2020 or 2021. And I look at their strategy and I look at the tactics they're implementing. And if you're a small, let's say, restaurant, and you're advertising in coupon magazines and billboards and in TV, that's fine. But do you really know the return on investment? Do you really know if all of your clients or all the people you're reaching are your clientele? And the answer is no, you don't know. But the answer is they're not. They're not all your clients. Now, those might be nice forms of marketing. They might work, and they might have worked fine in the past. But for a lot of small businesses that are doing the same thing and they're getting the same tired results, you're kind of hoping and wishing for more. That means your marketing is probably stuck a couple years in the past. And so if you've recently got on Facebook, or maybe you're not on Instagram, or you're not on LinkedIn yet, it's time to move your marketing from 2015 to 2020, or hopefully up to 2020 or 2021. And so we're going to show you some things. And ultimately, the reason I say that is because you have to go to where the attention is. Is the attention in radio? And I would say, no, it's not. There's some attention there, yes. But people are driving in the car less. A lot fewer people are commuting to work. A lot fewer people are taking their kids to school. So naturally, if you look at salespeople, like pharmaceutical salespeople, they're not on the road like they would be all day long traveling around the state. They're at home. And so we can venture to say that 40% people are in a car less. 50% of the people have cut the cord with cable. So there are a lot less people watching TV. Yes, they're streaming, but they're not watching cable TV, which means TV ads, which have gone up, are becoming less and less effective. Still can be a very good place to advertise. So don't get me wrong with that. Magazines. I'm getting a lot of trade publications come to my office. I've got one right here that I really enjoy reading, but unfortunately, a lot of them reach the recycle bin before they get to me because nobody's in the office, which is unfortunate. So there are a lot of traditional forms of marketing, and if there's no attention there, what's the point of advertising there? And people choose to consume media. If that's the way you consume media, that's the advertising you're going to buy as a business owner, as a marketer. So where is the attention right now? I can tell you the attention is on a cell phone, because at a Packer party last weekend, everybody had their cell phone in their hand at several given points, and they were on their phone looking at statistics while the game was happening, a big game. People are watching TV or a movie and they pick up their phone to look at things. The phone is the most powerful device in the world, and people are putting their attention into social media platforms. So it makes sense you want to go to where the platforms are. So we're going to talk about them right now. Facebook being the first one. Facebook has not changed a ton, but we're going to talk about some of the observations we've seen and a few things that are happening. And one is you're going to start to see, if you haven't already, a dedicated newsfeed, a separate newsfeed that you can toggle to get the information only you want. So this has been rumored to have been in the pipeline for 2+ years. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to toggle between the standard newsfeed, which shows you the things Facebook wants you to see, and then the other newsfeed, which shows you like close friends and your favorite businesses that you follow. So stay tuned for that if you haven't already seen it. Facebook has a way of doing this in what they call beta, meaning they do it in a test phase, and then they roll it out to certain countries or certain regions, and then eventually everybody gets it. They've also changed up a lot of their page management tools. So if you happen to manage a page, there's an app on your phone called Pages. And that allows you, if you're like me and you manage multiple pages, to toggle back and forth between all of the businesses very easily. That's seen a facelift in probably the late portion of 2020. And it's made it easier now to also respond to messages and toggle back and forth between accounts, whether that be Instagram or Facebook. So it kind of made that transition from platform to platform very seamless, because for those of you who don't know, Facebook does own Instagram. Unfortunately, and we've seen this year over year, we've seen a huge decline in organic reach. It's at an all-time low. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you post something to your page, your business page that is, you're lucky if pre-pandemic, 20% of the people that follow your page saw the post. Now I would say you're probably lucky if 15 to 10% of the people who follow your page will see that post. The reason being is that Facebook is a pay-to-play platform. They have a stock price that's close to $200 per share, which is very high, and they want to appease their stockholders and make more money. So literally, and I did this test last week, every fourth post in my newsfeed was an ad. Now, I encourage anyone to pick up their phone right now, go to Facebook and scroll through about 20 posts and just count. And I'm guessing that every fourth to fifth, if not more, will be an ad. And it's a great platform. It's still a great platform with that, but just don't expect a ton of results from your Facebook page if you're not advertising. And we'll talk about that a little bit coming up here. Now, we have seen the cost of ads increase on Facebook. However, the overall in cost to advertise on Facebook versus the cost to advertise anywhere else in the world is probably the best or the second best form of advertising. And I'm going to say this is a bold statement, but for almost any business in the world, Facebook is probably one of the best forms of advertising in the world. It is simultaneously one of the most inexpensive forms while also being the most effective form, because you get to choose your core demographics, certain interests, geographic area. You can retarget people. You can upload your email list and target people. You can create lookalike audiences. There is so much you can do with this platform. I will say it's also the most robust advertising platform in the world. So knowing all that, it's still great. We've been able to use these platforms for free for a long time, for well over a decade. And as they grow and they gain more attention, they're looking for ways to monetize their platform, and that's okay. And no one should be upset about that, but that's why I think you're going to see businesses start to pull back and post a little bit less, and they're going to focus more on quality over quantity, which is certainly something that I could be in favor of. We're also going to see, and we'll talk a lot more about this, is social shopping. Social commerce is another way of saying that every single social media platform is going to have built-in shopping capability. Facebook already has that and has had it for a while, where you can literally go to the marketplace and you can see businesses advertise their product, and you can also see people sell stuff just like they would on Craigslist or any other similar type of platform. You can pay directly through Facebook. You can get paid, you can print a shipping label, and off you go. I did an experiment over November, drop shipping some products, and I made $4,000 in a weekend. It is unbelievable the amount of capability you have to make money, whether you be a business or you're just an entrepreneur like me looking to try something. So as these things come available, which they are now, if you have a store, whether you're a boutique in town, you're a salon that wants to sell gift certificates, or you want to sell massages, or you want to sell your roasted coffee as a coffee shop, you should definitely have your products available, because in a time of the pandemic where there are a lot of people who don't want to go out still. They say it's just easier for me to have this shipped to my brother as a birthday gift, or ship it to my house because I want to support your business. There's a ton of opportunity in social shopping, and I would encourage most businesses who have a product or service to sell to get in on that. We're going to see a lot more safety and integrity features. So content censorship is just beginning. I certainly don't want to get political with that. There is some good behind it. There's also some negative behind it. But ultimately, it's designed to cut out spam and violence, hate speech, racism, things like that. But don't be surprised if at the same time you see maybe your ad account or your business account get flagged. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with anything that was violent or hateful. It could just have to do with the fact that Facebook is cracking down on businesses making claims. So if you're in the financial world, healthcare world, gaming, gambling, there are some industries that are really tough. Financial advisors have a hard time with ads because things get flagged. So that's going to happen more. Facebook wants to cut out certain things and make it more of a human-to-human interaction, which is frustrating for businesses unless you're willing to advertise. Right now, it looks like there's no platforms or no features being removed from the platform, but ultimately, I think we're going to see more expansion of Facebook Shops and Instagram checkout, meaning that commerce capability of buying things on these platforms. You're going to see a lot more of that, and I think that there's going to be a little bit of Facebook that wants to rival Amazon here in a different way. Let's move on to Instagram. This is a platform that is, before the pandemic, was the second biggest and yet the fastest growing platform. That's changed. It's no longer the fastest growing, but it still has a ton of clout. I would say that it's probably in the top three of social media platforms in terms of most importance. Now, it doesn't necessarily apply to all businesses, but I do think there's value for being on here, even if you are a B2B business, you're a chamber, you're a nonprofit. I think that Instagram definitely should have your attention. They've put a lot of focus on Reels, which I'll show you in the next slide. It's basically a feature of short 10-second type videos that disappear. And they do that to try to compete with TikTok, because Facebook knows TikTok is not going anywhere. It's a behemoth already. And we'll see more focus on that. They actually want to cut back more on the news feed, and they want to drive more people to the Reels because they want it to compete with TikTok. The usage of stories and consumption of stories continues to increase. So if you're not familiar with what that is, those are the little circles at the top of your app. When you open it up, they've got a little ring around them, And when you watch that story, it's either a video or a photo, and they disappear after 10 seconds. You can go back and watch them again, but ultimately the consumption of that is higher. Myself, I enjoy watching stories more than the newsfeed because they tend to be more engaging. They tend to be more video, more smiling faces, people showing what they're doing. It seems to be more relevant to the stuff I want to see. So I find myself spending just as much time, if not more, consuming stories. And I post to them probably more than I do to my newsfeed. Instagram is expanding their live streams up to 4 hours. So again, if you're looking to go live and you want to live stream maybe an event, if you're a nonprofit or you're an organization, you're doing a giveaway, there's a lot of opportunity to look at Instagram as being a platform to use rather than maybe something else. This was interesting to me, and this is why it was bolded, is users can now monetize live streams with fan badges, which is something that was influenced by Twitch, which is actually a gaming platform or a platform designed for gamers to stream. Now, I won't go into that too much, but the fact that you can monetize your stream and you can make money off this tells me that we're going to see a lot more youth continue to use this platform. And as the teenagers and 20-somethings age, I think that Instagram will continue to be a top 3, top 4 platform for many years to come. As I mentioned before, the platform's making it easier for businesses to sell products on the platform. 2 years ago, it was very challenging to figure that out. It was very hard for businesses to integrate that in, and now it's super seamless through the business manager. As I mentioned on the previous slide, Facebook has merged Messenger with Instagram DMs. So basically, you can do that through the Pages app, or you can do that through either one of the platforms, but you can toggle back and forth between Facebook and Instagram and more easily respond to messages. I think that they've figured out that small businesses don't have a lot of time and they're looking for things to make managing their social easier. And there are a lot of people who send businesses messages and they just don't get responded to. And some of that is because these platforms have felt a little cantankerous as it relates to responding to messages. Something that maybe some small businesses and nonprofits will be interested in is the fact that now small business fundraisers can be integrated into Instagram. This is really new, so I don't know a lot about this yet, but you can basically raise money for a fundraiser, or you can create your own fundraiser. So this is something I'll be really interested to see how it works. But in the age of struggling businesses and the pandemic, I could see this being very popular. And another one that was really threw me, I was surprised to see this, but kind of not, because I think Twitter is losing some clout, is that Instagram in many predictions is set to become the most popular source for news over Twitter. And part of that is a couple of reasons, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. Instagram is strong. There's not a lot of spam. There's not a lot of fake accounts. There is kind of the opportunity to see only what you want to see. And so I think people prefer that. And there hasn't been a lot of censorship on Instagram. There has been a ton of censorship on Twitter. So a lot of reasons why people might be making that move. This is what Instagram Reels look like. So for those of you who maybe haven't experienced it yet, there's a tab on the bottom of the screen you'll be able to click on to get to Reels. And think of it no different than Snapchat meets TikTok to a certain degree. So pretty cool, but again, very popular with the youth, the younger folks who are in the teens, 20s, even early 30 range. We're going to talk about YouTube, and YouTube is a platform that I love for a lot of reasons. It's arguably not a social media platform, which might surprise you. It's not really a social media platform because there's not much that's social about it. There is a comment section, but it's not widely used. Businesses and brands and people don't really communicate with people on YouTube. So it's really more of a passive platform, but it's still classified in social. So we're going to talk about it because it is very relevant. It is probably the #1 website in the world. And I say that over Google because people spend more time on YouTube than they do on Google. They use Google as a vehicle to get to where they want to go. And they oftentimes will come back to it, but YouTube has people's attention and it keeps them there for a long time. So It remains one of the most powerful websites in the world and will be. If you're not using it for your business, you are, I would say, sorely missing out. And I'll show you some facts and figures behind that. But if you have videos, new or old, you should upload them to YouTube. And if you have the videos on YouTube or anywhere else on your website or anywhere else on the internet for that fact, it can become a bit of a tool in the toolbox that your salespeople or your business has. So if someone says, hey, I want to know more about A, B, and C in your services, say, oh, let me just email you this YouTube video we have. It talks all about it. And you can watch it at your convenience. They're changing their algorithm to make it harder to stand out. And part of that is because there's so much content on the platform. It's difficult, and they want the cream to be at the top. So there are a lot of ways you can sort. Now you can actually search via hashtags, and they're trying to make it a little bit more of an intelligent platform and bring in some of the features that Google has and make it a bit of a search engine of videos, to speak. In the spring, YouTube launched Shorts to compete with TikTok. So again, a second platform launching something, a feature to compete with TikTok, tells you that they're scared. They're worried because TikTok has the attention of probably 90% of the middle teenagers, the late teenagers, and the 20-somethings in the world. And as those teenagers and young people grow, just like Facebook did, they're going to stick with it. And so these platforms are concerned, which is why they're creating features that resemble that platform. YouTube launched the hashtags, as I mentioned, and it's becoming a better way to search for things because for a long time, videographers and businesses have been using hashtags to help identify what their video is about. So make sure that if you have videos on the platform, that you go back, and I would encourage all businesses to do this, is make sure you have a really solid description for your video, you have the tags, and you're using hashtags as well, because you want to get found. And most of us, I'm assuming if you go through your videos, the results aren't going to be where you want them to be. Something I really want to talk about is pre-roll ads. Might be the best form of advertising for small businesses. Now, I'm going to back up a minute because I know I just told you that Facebook ads are probably the best. As it relates to cost, YouTube might be the best bang for your buck. But as it relates to overall results, I'm going to say that Facebook has the slight edge. Pre-roll ad is basically a commercial that you have to watch for about 10 seconds or 5 seconds before you watch the video you intended to watch. And in many cases now, depending on if someone wants to monetize their video or not, which you can click to do that, you can make money off the commercials that get to play before your video. You have to watch 2 videos and 2 commercials before you get to the video you want to watch. Again, they're monetizing their platform. I did this with my business. I'm going to show you on the next slide the results I had. Absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion. Funny, if you want to look at length of content, we talk a lot about video and length of video and what's good and what's not good. The shortest of the top 10 trending videos was basically 8 minutes, and the longest was 41 minutes. So YouTube saying that longer is stronger. That's probably true because when you go to YouTube, a lot of us, like myself, will multitask. I can send emails while I'm streaming music on YouTube. I can type things while I'm listening or pseudo watching something. So not surprised, but on social, like YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook and Instagram, you're going to see that trend be vastly different. We're looking at 30 seconds and 20 seconds on those platforms rather than 8 minutes or more. And in 2021, you'll be able to purchase products directly on YouTube as well. So as I mentioned, these platforms see Amazon, they see everybody buying online and shopping online, from groceries to Walmart to anything. And if you're YouTube or any other platform, you're saying, we've got millions of people, billions of people around the globe who want to make a buck, who want to increase their business. Why don't we just allow them to buy it on the platform? Because then they don't leave. If you leave YouTube and go to a website to buy something, are you coming back? The answer is probably no. So it's advantageous for these platforms to integrate social commerce to keep you on the platform. Any questions so far?
We have allowed everybody, we unmuted everybody, so you just have to unmute yourself if you have a question for Chris to just chime in and get a conversation going. And I don't see any questions that have come in through the chat or the Q&A tab. So again, if anybody has any questions who are listening in, please just jump right in. So
Cool. Thank you, John.
part of anything, Chris, go take it away.
Okay. Here's the small business that I own in downtown Appleton called The Social Station. It's a party bike, pedal pub, whatever you want to call it. It's a small seasonal business. And I spent $185, which is not a lot. That's actually very, very small for my budget. And I promoted a 24-second video as a pre-roll ad. A pre-roll meaning they only got to see about 10 seconds of the video. You can continue to keep watching it if you so choose, but essentially I had 213,000 impressions, which means that's how many times it showed. Now, 39,000, almost 40,000 people viewed it. Now, I got to tell YouTube, just like I got to tell Facebook, the age, the demographic, the geographic area. And I got 40,000 people to view it, and the average cost per view was less than 1 penny. Now, that's mind-blowing. That is exceptionally good results. But the idea is that 39,000 people, almost 40,000 saw it. Now, YouTube advertising, extremely inexpensive. If you're looking to try something, and the reason I chose this amount is because I do a lot of these workshops, and I know that the majority of small businesses out there, even the smallest of small businesses, and my business, this business is very small, can spend $185 on an ad campaign. And the way I look at it is, I got that many people to become aware of my business. So yes, it's advertising. It doesn't show you the number of people who clicked on the site. I had to cut that off, but I think it was something in the ballpark of like 150 clicks, which I still think is very good for $186. That's just a little bit more than $1 per click, if you look at it that way. So great platform to be on. And one of the things you'll see is that this video right here has 108,000 views to it. That's how many people actually clicked onto the video to watch it. So the fact that I have 108,000, I think, is pretty spectacular for a small seasonal business that operates in the city of Appleton. Let's talk about Snapchat next. I think more than ever, this is a platform that small businesses want to consider being on. Now, if you're B2B, probably not for you. I just want to throw that out there. If you're a nonprofit, maybe there's a case to be made. Snapchat could be a viable platform, but we're talking more about B2C businesses, coffee shops, salons, retail, e-commerce, anyone who, maybe even restaurants could do very well on Snapchat. Chambers of commerce, CVBs, or some organizations like that are event focused could be very good here. There were 249 million daily active users in Q3 of 2020. It's an 18% increase. I think that's pretty awesome. That's a lot of people, and it's increasing, and not just by a little, by a pretty significant amount. Typical user opens the app 30 times a day. That's a lot. But also understand that just below this, 90% of the age demo is 13 to 24. The 13 to 24-year-olds are not making dinner. They're not at work. Yes, they're at school. They have the capability to open the app a lot more than you or I do. However, there is a strong, a big part of the demo here that's in the 20s to 30s. And those are people that a lot of restaurants and a lot of B2C businesses want to target. They do have disposable income. They do spend money on entertainment and food and drinks and things like that. So as this platform ages, just like Facebook did 15, 20 years ago, it's something you want to keep your eye on. I really think millennials and Gen Zs combined have a buying power of $1 trillion that is on this platform. That's a lot of flipping money. So if you're looking for people and you say it's too young for me, I would venture to say that it's worth getting on. It's worth sampling. You don't have to put a lot of time into effort into this, but for the right business, it's worth considering. Snapchat users are 63% more likely than non-users to have purchased a product online. So again, if online sales is something you want to get into or are into, it's worth it. 60% of Snapchat users make in-app purchases, which means they're spending money. And if you think about it, whether it be Sony PlayStation or the Xbox or these other things that kids are buying stuff, a lot of what they're buying is $5, $10, $20, $30, $50. And that's what a lot of small retailers are looking to sell. That would be a good transaction for them. 84% of Snapchat users have visited an online retail site on their mobile phone in the past month, compared to 60%. So again, growing, even though this is a young demo. And then users report 5x higher ad awareness from Snapchat ads than other video ads. So think about it, video ad, it consumes your whole entire screen of your phone and it's got your attention. So that tells me that if maybe you're not willing to get on Snapchat on a regular basis to post, but maybe you're willing to get on Snapchat to advertise, which I still think could be very viable. So again, whether it's entertainment, you're a wedding venue, you're a salon, you're a restaurant, you're a boutique shop, there's a really good opportunity. And I think that the cost of ads on Snapchat, which I've experienced with, is very reasonable. It's not quite as cheap as Facebook, but it's pretty inexpensive. And you can actually put say you wanted to target within 15 miles, you could draw the exact geofence you want around the city or around a geographic area, especially if you just wanted to show a filter or something like that. So there's a lot of opportunity on this platform as it continues to grow and be more valuable. So some key takeaways with Snapchat are, you need to be aware that your audience is. I think that that's really important. Some businesses aren't really fully aware of who their audience is. And so you can go to your Facebook Insights tab and get a pretty good idea of the type of people who follow your page, what their gender, their location is, their interests, their age. Those things are really important. And if you don't think this is right, ultimately stay true to your brand, because you want to reach your users and potential users. You don't want to just be out there trying to market to people who don't care. If you're going to create more time, I would say create more video content this year. Prioritize short videos like these. And that is one of the reasons people like Snapchat, is because it's short, snackable content. I also think that you can get more mileage out of these short videos than you can longer ones. So I would rather a business produce 5, 6, even 10 short videos that are 30 seconds rather than create one long video that's 7 or 8 minutes long. And again, great platform if your audience skews somewhere in the 30s or under. All right, let's get to the big one, and one of the most important ones, which is TikTok. And like Snapchat, I think that this is a platform a lot of businesses should look at, should investigate. You should download the app, try it out. I do think it's safe, outside of a lot of the things that you hear in the news. There's a lot of things you can do to change the settings on your phone so that TikTok can't follow you or have it open in the background and get access to your personal information. So don't worry about that stuff. It's here to stay. I think businesses are underestimating the power and the value. It actually beats YouTube in time spent per user, which is, to me, mind-blowing. Because if you have kids that have iPads or tablets, my twin girls who are 6 spend hours and hours a week on YouTube because that's their form of entertainment over TV. And that's not changing. But they also don't have access to TikTok yet. And it's heavily dominated by 18 to 34-year-olds. Now, for about a couple years when this was new, this was like, oh, it's teenagers, it's kids. Like, well, yeah, but you know what happened is there's a lot of 34-year-olds and 30-year-olds who have kids. And if you're like me and you're about 40, and you've got teenagers, you want to know what your kids are doing. So you want to follow your kids on Snapchat. You want to follow your kids on TikTok. Well, now the parents are getting on TikTok. Now what happens when the parents get on TikTok? The grandparents get on TikTok because they want to see what their grandkids are doing and what their kids are doing. This is what happened to Facebook 20 years ago. It happened to Snapchat, happened to Instagram, and it happens to every single social media platform. Eventually everybody gets on because they want to see what all the craze is about. And so that number has skewed up a lot in the last year. And I think you'll start to see that next year it's going to look like 14 to 40 because a lot of people will be on the platform. And average users are spending 52 minutes per day on TikTok. That's a lot of time. Granted, a lot of these are young people, but not surprising because it can suck you in and you just kind of forget about it because it's very entertaining. The app has more than 1.5 billion users, and you can find dentists, police officers, teachers, parents, grandparents on this platform, and a lot of businesses. And a funny story is the Dunkin' brands had gained more than 1.4 billion views on a hashtag Dunkin', in a collaboration with an influencer. They now have a drink called Charlie that was mostly inspired off of this. And the latest creation has more than 88 million followers. Now, granted, Dunkin's a big company, but they were an early adapter. And it just goes to show that, a brand that probably wasn't that cool, that probably wasn't on a lot of kids or young people's radar, has become a kind of a cool brand, and it's rivaling Starbucks a little bit. And just to prove the weight and the importance of TikTok is that in 2020, the app was downloaded more than Instagram. So, and that comes at the feet of the fact that the app almost got banned and almost got removed from the App Store. And there's a lot of controversy around it, but it's what people want and they're interested in it. So I think that, again, going back to my early comment, you have to go to where the attention is. So some examples of success was there's a small business called Wonderlust Co. that sells $20 phone cases. They sold over 303 days. So $6,000 in revenue from a cold audience. And that's because they don't have this algorithm like Facebook does, where you have to struggle to get people to see your content. You get it on there and almost anybody, whether they follow you or not, could potentially see your content. And this is why there are a lot of small businesses and influencers and entrepreneurs like Wonderlust who are adapting to the platform. And if you're not a user right now, all I have to tell you is that all these brands listed, Family Feud, Walmart, Chipotle, NBA, Guess Jeans, Sephora, Hewlett Packard, zoos, other organizations are already using it. Washington Post, there's a ton of news outlets who are using the platform, and news anchors as a form to connect with people and get their message out. So it really is becoming a behemoth, and it's going to rival Facebook in terms of attention. And so the big thing with these social platforms is you need to be an early adapter if you want to get ahead of the curve, because otherwise they're going to eventually have an algorithm. It's going to become Facebook, where it's really hard to stand out with organic reach being low. It's going to become more pay to play once they figure out how to monetize it and make more money, and they'll become publicly traded. So with 1.5 billion people and only 4% are businesses, that tells me that huge opportunity, like ding, 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 count me in. I'm working on how I can get my businesses on TikTok in 2021. And I'm actually very disappointed I didn't do it in 2020, but partially because I was a co-teacher from home. Twitter's a platform I'm not going to spend much time on, and I apologize, we're running out of time here, but it's a platform that's been very stagnant. There are some nice things, like you can share tweets via Snapchat. You can post voice posts now. They have a stories feature just like everyone else. They're kind of losing clout. They're losing users, avid users. People still use the platform, but they don't use it as much. They're spending their time elsewhere. And that's because other platforms like Snapchat and TikTok are kind of eating their lunch, so to speak. While there are some nice new features like being able to schedule posts in advance, I just think that things that they're going to do with censorship have turned a lot of people off. They're kind of leading the bandwagon with Facebook on that. They're also considering moving to a subscription model, which would be more of a premium paid service. I don't see Twitter being one of the top 5 platforms in the future. It is something that a lot of businesses are going to find mostly ineffective. As a company that is social media management, I can tell you that very few of our clients use it because they don't see much value from it. Now, yes, there is a case to be made that Twitter could be very valuable for your business, but if you're a small local business, it's almost not worth being on if you're going to invest time and you're not seeing a return on investment. And that's the reason I say it. It's maybe worth the link, but if you have an account and it's not being updated, that looks worse than not having an account. So I just see that the platform will continue to be stagnant. It's probably not worth your time if you have very limited time, and it's going to continue to lose ground to the other big platforms, which is where a lot of the other people are. So we'll skip over that. We're going to talk about LinkedIn, and I apologize if anybody has to drop off, but they are becoming Facebook to a certain degree. They're adapting a lot of the features like stories. Content creation was up huge last year, 60%, because the big thing is here on LinkedIn is their organic reach is 100% almost. So if you post something, 100% of your followers are bound to see that content. That's true for businesses and for personal users. They're continuing to add in great features. Like I said, stories, now polls. It is an unbelievable platform for underutilized, easy attention, the ability to integrate in links and to post what would be essentially blog posts or regular posts. They're adapting in other technology. They call it Career Explorer for job seekers who are looking to transition into a new career. They also have doubled down on their intentions of education. So there's an education tab that allows you to watch videos, and you can actually get certifications on certain things. So I would encourage people to check that out as well. If you're looking to learn about something from social media to graphic design, you can educate yourself there. You can now host a virtual event on LinkedIn, which is pretty cool. I've seen this, but have not done it. In 2020, they said that they held over 200,000 events and had over 10 million attendees, which is cool because you can now capture attendee contact info. So if you're looking for lead generation stuff, it's a really good opportunity and potentially an alternative to Zoom down the road. And believe it or not, the #1 job, in-demand job for 2020 was digital marketer, which is kind of no surprise based on this presentation today. I love LinkedIn. I think if you're a B2B or B2C business, you should be on LinkedIn because organic reach is so high. More people are starting to use the platform. It's growing in popularity. I would put this in my top 5. If I'm a B2B business, I would put this in my top 3 platforms. The big thing is you got to get some buy-in from your staff and your people. It's important when you have other people sharing your content on LinkedIn. Engagement is up 36%, like I said. I think that you look at the engagement being up, and that's one thing, and the organic reach being up, that's 2 huge reasons to be on the platform. A lot of people are talking and posting about working from home. So that is getting a lot of engagements, but I think that's a little bit worn out at this point. But ultimately, I think you have to put people first. This is really about a community, a business, a people platform. It's not something you really want to focus on selling or hard selling, but really about building that community, building awareness, and posting about your people and your culture. Here's another cool thing that if you're hiring or you're growing, there's a built-in capability to do virtual job interviews on LinkedIn. So look at their jobs tool. It's becoming more and more robust, and I think that they have one of the best or better platforms if you're looking to hire people, post jobs, just because they have so many features now built in that another reason why LinkedIn will continue to be strong for many reasons. And there's very little spam, there's very little fake accounts. People will spam you with salesy stuff, but that's different. But one of my favorite platforms, primarily because of this organic reach. I'm gonna wrap it up. I think there are a lot of these things in here I already talked about. I'm gonna get to my last slide, which is the predictions. And I think a couple things. We're gonna continue to navigate through this unique time, this polarizing time around the political climate and social unrest, which is gonna be a bit tough, but I think that ultimately we're gonna get through it, and apologize here, I just lost my screen.
The screen is still up there yet.
Okay, so ultimately, digital marketing spend, I think, will continue to grow. I do foresee some companies decreasing their marketing budgets only because a lot of them have faced some tough economic times. And so while a lot of them would like to, I think they're going to be in a position where they're going to have to decrease their marketing budget, which is unfortunate. But if you have the capability, I would encourage the opposite. But being able to find a way to decrease your traditional ad spend would be the way of getting around that. You'll see a little bit of the less is more approach. I think a lot of that has to do with the budget that we talked about, and focus more on quality if that is the case over quantity. We're going to see a more human approach as well, where people integrate faces and video, because a lot of small businesses were forced to do that in the future. We're going to see a lot more video, and part of that is due to the fact popularity of YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat, and obviously the social part of online sales. We're going to see a lot more of that integrated into these social platforms, and we're going to see a lot more people buying online. They're going to be comfortable doing it. And ultimately, conversations around corporate responsibility. We're going to see a huge influx, and I think part of this is due with a new administration, just around the environment and social good and social causes, which is a good thing. And those are things that will continue to yield and gain more engagement. So with that, I certainly had a few more slides we could talk about, but I'd like to open it up to some questions. And I apologize for going a little bit late, but I thank everyone for joining us today. Hopefully you learned something, you gained something. I'm happy to stick around. I've got about another 15 minutes if anybody wants to ask some questions. Otherwise, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You have my email, my phone number here, and I'd be happy to connect with anyone at a later time or day to talk more about some of these things if you need some help or have some questions.
Very good, Chris. Those who are listening in, we've given you access, so you just need to unmute yourself. If you have a question or comment that you would like to share with the group, ask Chris. Now would be a good time to do that. So feel free to jump in if you have a question or something to share. And I don't see nobody submitted a question or a comment. So I guess with that, I will thank you again, Chris, with Be Connected. Thank you for sharing your information. We have recorded this, so if anybody wants to go back to view it, we'll push that out to the membership for viewing at a later time. It'll be on our website under our archived videos. So Chris, again, thank you very much. Our next social media or social hub is scheduled for February 16th at 8 a.m. And the topic was Google My Business. So I'll be looking for that. We'll be promoting that fairly soon here in the upcoming weeks. So again, thank you all for joining us. And Chris, we really appreciate the time and the information. We will see you next time. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.